You're listening to the Scarf Bagara War, part of the Talksport fan network, and charity partners with Mentel, for county fans, by county fans.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Courtyard Club Call with me, Jimmy Harmer, and him, Dan Culverwell. Hi, Dan.
Hello, matey. How are you coping without a game this weekend?
It's been tough, to be fair. We've done lots of shopping instead, unfortunately.
So it's been expensive then?
I didn't buy anything, so it's not been, it's not been too bad. Thanks, mate. So, we're on season 2, episode 11 of the Courtyard Club Call. And tonight, as Dan says, we've not got any county match to discuss, but we have got a little mini season review for everybody. We're recording this on Sunday, the 8th of September, and we'll be getting it out to everybody. So it should be available for you to listen to on your commute on Monday morning. So I have got a little treat for Dan before we start this. I've got a little quiz for him. So what I'm going to be doing is playing 4 audio clips of goals that we have scored this season. And I'm going to ask Dan to identify who scored the goal and what game it was from. You ready, Dan?
Yep.
Okie dokes. Let's hope this works. Here we go. First one.
Oh, that's a stray header from Moeller. It's going to come to... Oh, he's done it again! From the edge of the box, on the volley, and he shrugs to the crowd as if to say, it's happened again.
That one's Bristol Rovers, Barry, because he's done it again.
Should we see?
Yep.
So I'm now going to play the actual video. So if anybody's watching this on YouTube, they'll be able to see the goal and see if it was Louis Barry against Bristol Rovers.
Oh, that's a stray header from Moeller. It's going to come to Barry. Oh, he's done it again. Louis Barry from the edge of the box, on the volley, and he shrugs to the crowd as if to say, it's happened again.
Nice one, Dan. What a goal, eh?
I thought I was going to say that about all of his at the moment. He's like you say, he doesn't score simple goals at the moment. So,
okay, well, you're 1 from 1 anyway. So well done. Next audio file. Here we go.
As County come forward again with Bailey trying to square it. This is 2, and it's again.
That one, I think, is Stretton's goal, obviously against Accrington on Tuesday, where he squared it back into Stretton to tap it in.
Well, should we have a look?
Yeah.
As County come forward again with Bailey trying to square it. This is 2. And it's Stretton again.
Nice.
Just love hearing John Kieran, innit? It's, to be honest, I can listen to John Kieran all day long.
Yeah. Well, we've got one where we've not got John, unfortunately, but he is obviously Mr. County. And in fairness, when I was putting these together, he is very, very good at saying the player's name after they've scored. The Sky commentators, I think, don't actually know who scored the goal. They have to look down at a team sheet and see what the number on the back of the kit is. So anyway, number 3. Let's go on to this. Who's this one?
Lovely 1-2 between Torre and Bate. Torre carries it into the opposition half and finds he's got 2 for company, but he darts between them, past the 3rd, edge of the box, past 4. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
Goal of the season.
It's obviously going to be Louis Barry. Maybe Blackpool away.
Is that what you're sticking with? Is that what you're going with?
Yeah. I think I think it's going to be Blackpool away. I don't know. I don't think it's Fevier's goal. But yeah, I'm going to go Barry, Blackpool away.
Let's have a look.
A lovely 1-2 between Torre and Bate. Torre carries it into the opposition half and finds Louis Barry. Barry's got 2 for company, but he darts between them, past the 3rd, edge of the box, past 4. It's Barry. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
What a goal. I absolutely love that one. It's amazing. And well done. 3 from 3, Dan. See if you can get the final one. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fevrier makes room for the cross. Looks for the check back. And again. Gets in an excellent cross. 2-0. The recipient of a quite gorgeous cross from Jayden Fevrier.
Yeah, that one's a little, probably the easiest of the lot. That's Wotton's header, second goal against Cambridge, first game of the season. Fevrier had just been on the pitch minutes when he sort of like crossed that ball in. So yeah.
Okay, let's find out if you're right.
Fevrier makes room for the cross. Looks for the check back. And again. Gets in an excellent cross. 2-0. Kyle Watt, the recipient of a quite gorgeous cross from Jayden Fevrier.
Well, mate, I am impressed.
Well,
I'm impressed. 4 from 4. You know your stuff.
Prizes in the post.
So, best goal out of those 4? Which one?
I don't know. Do you know what? It's hard because you've got some cracking sort of individual goals from Barry, but like you say, even that Wotton goal, the cross from Fevrier was absolutely fantastic. Even Stretton's goal, the first goal against Accrington, the volley. The ball been good goals at the moment. All different sort of headers. We've had obviously right-footed goals. Fevier's was a left-footed goal against Blackpool. We've had a couple of Wotton headers in there. So yeah, it's to pick which one's the best out of the lot for me is just really, really difficult at the moment.
Yeah, we've been spoilt so far this season, haven't we? I mean, we've got some good stats that you've put together in relation to XG and stuff, but we've scored plenty of goals. Obviously, apart from the Mansfield game, where we only got 1, but yeah, 2, 3, 2, 4, and that's always going to bode well if you're scoring goals and not conceding. You're going to be near the top of the table. So, okay, so we're a month in. We've played 5, won 4, drawn 1. For the purposes of this podcast, we're pretending the Blackburn game never happened. I've plotted it on a graph, and it's a statistical outlier. So, like, if you've ever done any maths, you know that you can get rid of stuff like that. So, yeah, we won't even bother talking about that. So, yeah, played 5, won 4, drawn 1, scored 12, conceded 2. So, should we go through those 5 games, Dan? How did you feel going into that first game of the season, the Cambridge game?
Obviously, that's like most things. I think first game of the season, nervous. You're hoping the best. Being County, glass is always half empty at times. Opening game fixture, we all know that we start badly. All the nerves that I had were completely gone after like 15, 20 minutes. After sort of 20 minutes, it was you could see that we could compete at this level. Cambridge are a League One team. They've been in that division for quite a while. Yes, they've sort of been near the bottom, but they've also had seasons where they've been near the playoffs as well. But yeah, after that first game, I just thought we can compete. And that's all I wanted to do in this division is actually, doesn't matter how much money you spend on a team or how good a player looks on paper. Actually getting them to gel together and play as a team is a different skill altogether. And my optimism sort of really grew from that game.
I think the worry for me going into the season was just all around the injury list that we had. I was confident in the team that he could put out as a first team, but then thinking, what is there off the bench really from an experience point of view? But obviously in the Cambridge game, you had Barry scoring very early on, so that settled a lot of nerves. And then obviously Wotton scored his header in the second half, didn't he? Was it the first half actually?
No, it was
second half. Second half in the Railway end. Yeah. So Yeah, it was definitely a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. From like before the game, bit worried. Oh, how are we going to do? And then we cantered to the win in the end, didn't we? Really?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I say, it just after them first 20 minutes, obviously the Louis Barry goal obviously helped settle the nerves. But yeah, we just look, that momentum that we had for the last sort of 7 games, if you forget the Wrexham game of end of last season, we just kept on going on to it. And I think, are we now something like scored now in the last 15 consecutive league games, I think it is, going back to last season.
That's a good start.
It's if we know that we'll score a goal in a game, then like you say, we know that we've got the opportunity of winning the game if we keep a clean sheet. And I think that as well is also what has sort of helped us on this start.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the chances that we've created. So, I mean, total shots in that Cambridge game, 20. If you're not creating chances, you ain't going to score goals. So the fact that we could create that number of goals, obviously the XG on Louis Barry's goal would have been very, very low because that was 30 yards out and a lob. We still got an XG of 1.46. I mean, Cambridge were poor, weren't they? I was disappointed with the quality of them. I think I was expecting something a little bit better, but they're down at the bottom of the league for a reason, aren't they? They've played.
It's a bit of a weird one because obviously, same again, they've got a manager there that had a little bit of pedigree about him.
Is that Monk, is it?
Yeah, and it's obviously hard. He came in, I think, at middle of last season, which is obviously harder because no transfer window. But you'd expect like the new manager will get back in the summer, be able to bring maybe some of his players that he may be familiar with, and he'd be able to sort of mould that team to the way he wants it. And they still looked like a team very much in transition where they didn't know what style of football they were playing or how they were going to play it. And it's same in like I say, what their negative is our positive, because we look like, even though we've had a lot of players come in, we look like relationships on the pitch and understanding on the pitch just looked really, really good.
Do you think that's because we did our business pretty early on?
Yeah, and I think, yeah, definitely. And I think obviously Louis coming back it's not like a new signing as such. He hasn't got to work out, how to get to Carrington and all that lot and who everybody is and the name of the tea lady and, what bar of chocolate Richard Landon prefers, so he gets, decent pair of socks in his kit and stuff like that. He knows how it all works, and he's like you say, it's just like he's not been away, to be honest.
Yeah, so a very positive victory for us. Did that put us top of the table or not at that point?
I don't know. To be honest, I hate looking at tables at this start of the season. I think we all get a bit giddy and silly about looking at a table 2 games in and we're top of the table and stuff like. Like you're saying, we'll go more. I like the points per game. I like, looking at, we all know that Dave Challoner looks at games in blocks of 10 or has done in the previous seasons. And I like that. I like looking at that sort of scenario and the points per games and stuff like that at this stage of the season, because I think, the season for a lot of clubs will start next weekend. After the transfer window's closed, the new players they've brought in have had time, like a little mini pre-season to bed in. So I think a lot of clubs actually, when Saturday comes, that's the start of their season.
Yeah, no, good point. So yeah, we went into the Blackpool away game. So that was a week later. Obviously, a lot of excitement amongst the fan base that it was Blackpool in August. And yeah, I think we were pretty. I remember being confident going into this game after seeing what we'd seen at Cambridge. In the Cambridge home game. I guess my only concern with that one was that they had an excellent home record. I think like the previous season, they hadn't been defeated since November or something. So I was thinking, okay, this is a team that knows how to win at home. And yeah, we went on to beat them 3-0 with an XG of 1.11, which go to show how good the goals that we scored were. They weren't sort of easy chances by any means. How did you think or feel going into that game? Did you think that they were going to be a tougher opposition than we actually ended up with?
I always find away games, I'm more relaxed anyway, to be honest, with away games. I'm always happy, coming away with a point is not the end of the world for an away game. So I always feel, like I say, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more at ease. Always find that the atmosphere on away games is probably better than at times at Edgeley Park. Not because of the home side, but just because the fans in the away end. So yeah, I was more relaxed about it all, to be honest. And sort of knowing that sort of if we built on what we had last time, excited to see certain players like at that point, obviously Lewis Bate was ripping it up. Jack Diamond as well. So yeah, them new players that came in, Fevier as well, just sort of excited to see them.
It's interesting, again, sort of looking at the stats. So in the Cambridge game, we had 355 passes, 263 accurate. In that Blackpool game, we managed 492 passes, 377 accurate passes, which as an away team is pretty impressive. And I think that probably sort of feeds into the feeling, certainly in the second half, of the control that we had within the game.
Yeah, I did, like I say, when you sort of get into like having nearly 500 plus passes in a game, you're getting into sort of the championship quality teams. I think the big difference is obviously our pass success rate still needs improvement on. We're still around about the 80% on pass completion rate for accurate passes, where, like I say, the championship, you're looking at 90. Getting near to that 90 in Premier League is obviously 90 plus on their accurate passes. But we're getting there.
Do you think part of that then may be because we're taking a few more chances with our passes? I mean, it's easy to get a brilliant pass, sort of high pass completion rate if you're knocking it around the back. I don't feel like this season we've seen as much of that, knocking it from side to side to side to side. We seem to be going a little bit more, not direct, well, not long, but certainly more direct, and trying to progress it through the lines a bit quicker.
Yeah, and I think it's the same again. I think what I'm liking to seeing is I think that will improve over the season, because relationships between players, knowing when to go, when to come short, when to put it in behind them, that will all work out between players, and especially players that, like I always like when they're playing in triangles as such, when Toure and Barry and Bailey in little pockets and triangles and stuff like that, and they sort of know what they're doing between each other on that side of the pitch, and I think that will come over the games, and that pass completion rate will go up once they sort of like work out what runs people are making, and they have more time to sort of work on it in the training ground.
Cool. Okay, so then into the weekend after, so Bristol Rovers at home. That was a 2-0 victory. So Barry and Wootton scored in that game. So yeah, an exact repeat of the Cambridge home game, to be fair. This time we had an XG of 2.35 with 19 shots on target. 500 passes this time with 407 accurate. Now, this would have been Ollie Norwood's first game, wouldn't it? So this was the one that Lewis Bate missed out on, so with his injury. And you could see from that first game how good Norwood was going to be at just picking the right pass at the right time. He played it excellently with Camps, from what I remember as well. They seemed to have an understanding with each other very, very early on. I mean, Bristol Rovers are a team that were tipped to be in and around the playoffs at the start of the season. How did you think that we did against them?
The same again. I thought that was a really, really good tester for us, because, like you say, they're a well-established team in League One, team that's always looking at the playoffs. So yeah, I thought that was a really good tester. And same again, like you say, Ollie Norwood making his obviously a debut. Big thing I noticed on there is the touches that we had in the opposition box for that game, where, like I say, Cambridge was 23, Blackpool was 28, and then that Bristol Rovers game was 34. It's the same again, big jump in the number of passes, accurate passes. Just like I say, I'm not saying it's just all down to Ollie Norwood that's come in, but you can tell as you go through the stats that by each game, them little stats are improving all the time.
Yeah. Good. Okay. And then moving on to the Mansfield away game. So they are a bogey side, unfortunately, for us, aren't they? So, and with it being away as well. And Nigel Clough seems to have this hoodoo over Dave, it seems. Would you say that a point was a good point in the end, at the end of the 90 minutes?
Before we kicked the ball at Cambridge, I'd have took a point at Mansfield, to be honest, all day long. So regardless of the fact that we won the 3 previous games, I still would have took a Mansfield draw. It's sort of, I felt that was a little bit like anti-football. I thought a draw for them was more of a bigger result for them than what it was for us as such. And they sort of celebrated it like they've won a game or something like that. Yeah, I think it's one of them. I think we come a little bit unstuck, a little bit. I think we didn't have the ball in that final third enough, and Mansfield were quite happy for us to play in front of them, and we didn't turn them around enough. We didn't get down to the sort of byline and crossing it in for Wotton enough. We sort of came alive in the last 10, 15 minutes of the game and looked to try and get something out of it. But you have to be doing more for the other periods of the game to really get something out of it. And I just felt that we played to their tempo, we played to their Mansfield style a bit too much, and we didn't dictate the pace of the game, even though we had so much ball, so much possession. We just played the ball in front of them all the time. And the same way in passes, we had 582 passes in that game. I think that's more passes than one Man City had against Chelsea. That's how much dominant on the ball we were, but we just seemed to do it all in front of Mansfield's defensive line.
The interesting thing with this one was obviously the previous 3 league games, Barry had got us off to a good start. So he scored the first goal in all the other three games. And then, I mean, we've been watching County long enough to know, certainly under Dave, if we get our noses in front, I'd love to know what the stats are. If we got our noses in front, I bet we very rarely lose a game.
Yeah.
In this game, they got their noses in front, and it was us sort of playing catch up. I know we got the Wotton header just before half time, I think it was, wasn't it? So we sort of went into half time 1-1. But there's a slight sort of difference there between the mentality of drawing at half time compared to being 1 or 2-0 up at half time.
I mean, that game was obviously he dropped Jack Diamond and put Fevier in.
Do you think he dropped him, or do you think he rested him?
Oh, I don't know. It's a either or, to be honest. I mean, Jack's been a bit unlucky because obviously he was brought in to play on the left-hand side, and then Louis Barry's come in and obviously not stole his position, but he's playing in there instead.
Yeah.
And Jack has been playing on the right-hand side, which isn't his side to play on, but he has been good. And we've seen glimpses of what Jack can do, like the Blackpool game when Barry came off and then he switched over to that side. And I think Mansfield have obviously done their homework. They knew who the danger man was. And I would say most of the game, they marshalled him out of the game, Louis Barry. And I think at that point, when it weren't working for him, I think it'd just be nice at times just to see him rather go on the right-hand side, swap over with Fevier. I know that obviously creates issues with defensive duties and stuff like that, or get maybe Will Collar to go out there and he then go behind Wotton, just to move that defence about a little bit, just to give them a different set of problems to work out. Because I think once they worked out how to play against Louis Barry, he was basically out the game.
Yeah, I mean, teams will end up sort of learning how to play against him, won't they? It's then up to other players to sort of step up. If they decide to put 2 on him, there will be somebody else free as well, won't there?
Yeah.
And he won't score a goal every game. It's statistically impossible for him to score 40 odd games a season. I just don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, other players will have to step up. And as it stands at the moment, we've only had 4 goal scorers: Barry, Wotton. So Barry's got 3, Wotton's got 3, Fevs has got 1, and Alafi has got 1. So that's in the league. So there's plenty of space for our other attacking players to sort of step up, I guess. Just sort of going back to what we were saying about the number of passes that we've had this season. I've not got any stats in front of me for what we were doing last season, but I think we're going to have to, we are going to get used to this, because the quality of our midfielders has gone up incredibly since last season. As much as we love Sars and as much as we loved Crosby, Collar was playing a little bit deeper as well. They weren't the sort of players in League Two, I don't think, to, almost sounds a bit harsh this, but to really control a game with lots of little tiny passes here and there and balls around the corner and passing through lines. There's a lot of endeavour, a lot of running forward, but I don't think they're not as good as a Norwood and a Bate, put it that way.
Yeah, and like I say, it'd be interesting with players coming back, with Tanto coming back, with Mellon getting fit, even with Jack Stretton, players that are clever enough to make the runs, because these guys, Bate and Norwood and Powell, if you make the run, they will find you. It's not a case of making the run, finding space, and then screaming for the ball. These guys, you make the run, the ball will find you, and they're good enough to do that. And I think as Wotton has been absolutely fantastic at the start of this season, I think once these they're just a different dimension of, and same again with Louis. I think when Louis finds his sort of a radar a little bit more in linking up in the sort of like the partnerships with, like you're saying, he's Norwood, and Norwood's obviously said it in his interview about pushing Barry to his limit. I think there's going to be a lot of goals this season where Barry assists Norwood.
Yeah, agreed. So let's just talk about the Accrington game quickly as well, because although it's the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, I think we both got an inkling that Dave wants to get his hands on the trophy this season. We can use it as a good opportunity to sort of keep players on the boil, rotate the squad a little bit, bring players back from injury. How do you think? So I guess the biggest returnee there would have been 2 players, so Stretton and Powell. Stretton scored 2 goals. How do you think Powell fitted into that midfield role?
I thought he did all right, actually. I mean, same again. You had Jack Diamond on the left-hand side. Obviously, Powell picked up a booking because of a bit of a short pass from Diamond, and by all accounts that Diamond got the evil eyes off Powell.
He sure did.
But same again, it offers a little bit more, something different, a little bit of that quality. We know Powell's a quality player. We know that he has that languid look about how he plays at times. But yeah, it's looking promising. And I do think we could get to Wembley on for that game, that trophy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he partnered with Norwood, obviously. So if you look at those 4 midfielders, now that Powell is coming back, those 4 sort of defensive midfielders, you've got Bate, you've got Camps, you've got Norwood and Powell. Wow. I mean, that is an embarrassment of riches in those sort of 2 midfield positions. And I wonder, actually, if he may end up playing 4-3-3 in some games to get Bate, Norwood and Camps in the team.
But would you say that Camps is starting to look like more of an attacking midfielder? I know he played a lot of last season as that defensive midfielder alongside Crowsdale, but the sort of last few games we're seeing what Camps can do going forward and the runs that he can make.
I think he's good at making the runs, Dan, but I'm not sure he will take on that sort of collar role where Dave really needs someone to lead that press or help with the press with the forward players, and I'm not sure that's quite Camps' game. But you're right. I mean, he nearly scored, didn't he, against Stanley with that not against Stanley with against Mansfield with that run from deep where he just ran past their whole midfield and defence and just missed the post.
But yeah, like I say, it's been an interesting start. You know, we have been very, very attacking defensively. You know, Corey's only made 6 saves in them first 4 league games this season. So on that aspect, it's you know, we haven't really been tested. Obviously, the goal that he did concede against Mansfield, like all goals, will be criticised for errors that rather on the pitch or the goalkeeper's made, and obviously they've covered that. So yeah,
okay.
It's looking good.
Cool. So give me 3 standout players then from these first 4 or 5 games.
Like I said, I'm liking the ones that obviously the players that we know that they brought in, like Ollie Norwood and Barry. We know they've got quality. We know they've got pedigree. For me, it was all about the players like Ethan Pye, Ibi Toure, Wotton. You know, how they step up. They've not played at this level before. You know, when you look at their careers, you know, they've not been anywhere near it, even Fraser Horsfall. And like I say, for me, that they've really stepped up to this level. And they look like seasoned pros in this level. You know, Ethan Pye, 2-3 years ago, he was a nobody. And now you would say that he's probably one of the, I would say, prized defenders actually in League One.
Yeah, I'm sure I read somewhere that Arsenal had sent some scouts down to have a look at him.
Yeah,
I could see him sort of playing for a team like Arsenal, couldn't you? I know it sounds almost bonkers to be saying like a 21, 22-year-old defender, but it's that left foot which is always going to elevate him above a lot of other players.
I wouldn't be surprised that by the end of the season, Ethan Pye, out of the whole county players, is the most scouted player out of the squad, even more than Louis Barry, I think, because I just think, like I say, Ethan Pye is just as much of a talent defensively than what Louis Barry is attacking. And I've said it last season. I do think Ethan Pye could do a job in midfield further, you know, in 3 years' time, like a Declan Rice type player, because I just think he's unflustered. You know, he doesn't get flustered. He keeps the ball really well. He can tackle it, and he reads danger as well. He's at times, this is what obviously Fraser Horsfall, and I think he's improved so much since he's joined the club, but he has had habit in the previous seasons of being a bit reactive and turning off and having to make that last ditch tackle or block because he's sort of they've played around him a little bit. He's got a lot better than that this year, I must admit. And like I say, he's raised his game, but Ethan sort of reads that danger. The amount of times you'll see him come across the pitch to clear the ball away and stuff like that in areas which isn't his area of the pitch to be doing so. I just really like him. So yeah, no, they say Ethan Pye, they say big fan.
He definitely complements Horsfall extremely well. Yeah, so my 3 standout players, I've actually gone for 2 current players as well. So Camps has been superb. I know he's played at League One before, and I think it probably annoys him when he gets interviewed and people forget that he has actually played at this level before. But yeah, so I think Camps has been awesome. Wootton, there are a few rumblings as to whether people thought he was going to be good enough to step up to League One. Certainly on the evidence of this first month, I think he's been brilliant. Maybe he's getting a little bit more from the referees as well, which obviously helps his game if he's not being blown up for fouls every 2 minutes. And then the one player who's come in, obviously we know about Norwood and Barry, as you say, but Diamond, I think, is looking quality. I mean, he's 24 years old now, and he himself probably needs to kick on. And he started the season brilliantly. I think he's got the most dribbles in the league as it stands at like 10 or 11 or something. And I know Fevrier had that last season, I think, for Colchester came from, didn't he? So the fact that he can sort of drive with the ball as well as he does, it's just so exciting. I mean, every football fan wants to see a player like a Jack Diamond in their side, don't they? And then when you've got Barry on the other side potentially as well. Yeah.
Well, I say that I think the glimpses of Jack Diamond, what we've seen the best is actually when he's been on that left-hand side. So same again, I don't know going forward, obviously formation-wise, will he maybe look to put Barry behind Wootton and Diamond on that side? But it's exciting. They're exciting players. They're players that get you off your seat. You imagine, like you say, Wootton up front, Diamond on the left, Barry behind Wootton, Fevrier on the right. If you're a defender, you'd be absolutely terrified of that lot. And then you've got players like, say, a Laffy to come on with pace. When Mellon gets back, he's got pace and strength. So yeah, it's exciting.
I think the biggest thing is that we're going to be able to change things, aren't we? If something isn't working after 60 minutes, you've got half an hour to bring some really good players on. If you rewind 12 months, we were bringing Cody Johnson on, we were bringing Ashton Mee on, because we had nothing else really to come on. So, and then obviously you got Stretton as well, who scored his 2 goals, but we're sort of thinking that maybe it looks like he's going to be off out on loan, maybe to the National League, get some games, get some fitness in there. We know that he's a talented finisher. He's probably, now that Paddy's gone, he's probably technically the best finisher maybe at the club.
I wouldn't be surprised that's the same with Macca and Rydell, in fairness, that and Stretton, that all 3 of them will end up going on loan. If they're fit by January, they'll go out on loan till January. Because like you say, that I just don't, unless, like I say, Bristol Street Motors, I don't think they'll get the opportunity to find their feet in the league game at the moment.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, we're almost up at 40 minutes, Dan. So I think I will leave you to your evening. So thank you to all our viewers and listeners. We're up to 1,880 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So click subscribe, get us up to the 2,000 mark. Remember, you've got Patreon membership as well to avoid you having any ads and the stuff that we give you, and you get entered into a prize draw as well for county merch and access to special guests. I listened to the Matty Warburton interview last week, a couple of weeks behind there, but it was well worth a listen. Such a nice guy, county legend, 27 goals in that 2018-2019 season, including that crucial second in the final game against Nuneaton. Really nice guy. Recommend listening to that. So yeah, until next time, goodbye and thank you.
See you later.